Hi everyone, this is Chen Li, and welcome to our final session with meteorology class under Sir Arch. And today we are tasked to explain the various climate systems that are actually experienced across the planet. Now, we begin in understanding why there is certain climate that each of the continents is experiencing for a longer period of time, such a longer period of time, and why there are also things that the climate is being experienced from this continent that is not experienced by other continent, and why they do, and what is the difference of this phenomenon. Why is winter seemingly observable in the northern hemisphere, countries in the northern hemisphere, while some parts in the southern hemisphere aren't experiencing this kind of climate system? Now, we try to understand in this session about how the different climate systems relate as the geographical locations also speak. Now, assigned to us is the extensive explanation about the subarctic climate zones. And I shall be discussing the first part of it, and the second and the third part shall be discussed by my teammates, Miss Vanessa Tiaño and Nicole Mabora. Now, we first identify or define actually subarctic climate. So, by definition, the subarctic climate can be found deep within the continents of high latitudes. In the same way as continental humid climate, continentality plays an important role in determining the characteristics of the subarctic climate. Very cold winters and mild summers result in the widest temperature range of any climate on Earth. Now it is clearly defined in subarctic climate that it is experiencing an extensive winter, which means that the temperature is actually lower than it is being expected. Now, why there isn't subarctic climate? When should this kind of climate system be observed, and why it does only exist in the northern hemisphere? Now we try to understand the geographical distribution of the different countries experiencing this kind of climate system. Now, the subarctic climate is found only in the northern hemisphere primarily because there are no large masses of land at the same latitude in the southern hemisphere. Vast expanses of subarctic climate land extend along northern American from the Newfoundland Peninsula to Alaska. The subarctic climate can be found in northern Eurasia from Scandinavia through the most of Siberia. So we try to see in the image that high latitude, the middle latitude, low latitude has something to do with the distribution of energy coming from the sun or the heat, which is also a factor in determining our climate status. So basically, if the geographical location is also in the equator, probably that a certain country is experiencing such humidity or high humid because there is a greater amount or concentration of water vapor in their atmosphere. But unlike in subarctic climate, or countries in the subarctic climate have actually experienced a extreme winter because of primarily because of the land masses and of course the latitude, meaning the latitude there can be high, sometimes can be low, depending on some of the distribution of the large masses, which our large masses depend on its size, its shapes, and of course pertaining to its location, because the location speaks whether how much energy from the sun is being received and how much energy is being bounced back to the environment or bounce back to the sun, with also with the help of the glaciers that are actually main absorbents of energy from the sun that is being bounced back. Now, in also we have also to understand the factors why does countries in the northern hemisphere are only experiencing this kind of climate system. Why is extreme winter isn't experienced here in, particularly here in tropical countries like the Philippines and in other parts of Asia that is actually not experiencing extreme winter, or not experiencing entirety of winter. Now, some factor is sometimes the location on large continental masses between 50 degrees and 70-degree latitude. The subarctic climate is isolated from any moderating influence of the ocean. So there's also an influence of the large body of water, which is the ocean. This therefore experience a wide range of annual temperatures. So in the previous discussions in meteorology, we have clearly understand that oceans also portray a great role in determining our climate system. So, assuming that a certain country is being surrounded by a large masses of body of water, particularly oceans, the seas, there is actually the more heat is being absorbed coming from the sun, the more production or concentration of water vapor is increasing in the atmosphere, causing it to rise, and we experience extensive humidity. So unlike in Canada, there are only few bodies of water that is being observed in Canada, in United States, but compared to countries that are found near the Pacific, that they are being surrounded by large body of water, there is actually a different climate system they are experiencing. Like for the Philippines, it's an archipelago. So Philippines as an archipelago surrounded by various bodies of water, meaning there is also a high concentration of water vapor in their environment, which makes it different from other climate systems of other countries that are experiencing. Secondly is that during the summer, it is dominated by west winds and cyclonic activity. During the winter, it is subject to the polar front and easterly winds. And the subarctic climate is characterized by its long cold winters given its locations in the source region of continental polar air masses. And other air masses of significance are the maritime polar and the Arctic continental. Now, this factor is actually one of the significant reasons why certain countries from the northern hemisphere are only experiencing extensive winter. Extensive winter, which other countries from other continents aren't experiencing. Now, we try to move on the certain temperature that certain countries experiencing extreme winter, their temperature. What is the average temperature that is being observed in a country's experiencing climate system that is extreme winter? Now, subarctic climate has short, cool summers along with very cold winters, and this region has come to experience the lowest temperature recorded outside the Antarctic and the highest temperature range of any other climate. Now, in subarctic climate zones, they are not only experiencing extensive winter, but they're also a short period of summer. But we try to understand and to give projection much view on the extensive winter. It is only because that summer is short in the northern hemisphere, but as the year is transitioning, there is already a shift in its climate from a short period of summer down to extensive winter. And of course, there is also a length of the day is quite long as well, and lasting up to 18 point hour 18.8 hours in June at a latitude of 60 degrees north, and temperatures that we are talking about here exceeds over 25 degrees Celsius and drop to 10 degrees Celsius at night, which means that it's actually very cold. That's why it is being addressed as experiencing a extreme winter. And this is, of course, the period of frost is short, being only 3 months in duration. So, however, frost can be recorded in any month. So, because they are experiencing a extreme winter there, of course, liquid turns into solid, which is ice, causing it to frost. And of course, as it frosts, of course, it also helps us to cool down the earth, because the earth is also getting warmer and warmer, which is also quite helpful. But of course, there is a bigger adjustment among the locals who live in this country. And yes, I am giving the floor now to the second reporter for a much explanation about the precipitation and the vegetation and the biomes that are being observed in this kind of climate system.
So in Köppen climate region, there are like five divisions we use, and these are letters A, B, C, D, and E symbols. And dominating those five divisions is the one we call DFC under the letter symbol D for subarctic climatic region. So this classification, this DFC, has a year-round precipitation of rain in summer, snow in winter, and here it has at least one full month that has an average temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. So this climate accounts for 90% coverage spanning the northern hemisphere, continents in the northern hemisphere. And while the continents in the far east of the north has a letter classification DWC. So here, DWC has a similar templates in DFC, but it has a monsoon influence pattern for precipitation, like dry winters and wet summers. So, under DWC, subarctic climatic region can still experience monsoon. And this monsoon is being influenced by the Asian region, making it this far. So, 10 degrees Celsius might be chilly for summer, but in DWC, it can exceed to 20 degrees Celsius. So it gets a little hotter in DWC unlike in DFC. Now, winters are a different story. And winters have a short, can be very short in temperatures under negative 20 degrees Celsius or below. And these things can be experienced and can get worse in parts of the northern eastern Siberia. Here, because it has an temperature of below negative 20 degrees Celsius, we need a colder set of Köppen classification. And these are the DFD and the DWD. We use DFD and DWD because here the winter falls the lowest record, and this lowest temperature record can also be experienced in outside Antarctica. So in this classification, winter day temperature average must be low, negative 38 degrees Celsius, and winter often fall to negative 50 degrees Celsius. So this region experience strong blast of winter under DFD and DWD. Yet due to continentality or the effect of prevailing winds coming from the coastline, and long hours of subarctic sunlight, summers are still surprisingly warm in this region, and peak day for temperature can still experience until above 23 degrees Celsius. The subarctic climatic region has a low diversity of vegetation since limited species of plants grow in this type of climate. Hardy species dominate in this region due to their ability to withstand longer winters and short summers. So if we will classify this region using the Köppen system, it is under letter D and E climates, where average temperature for the coldest months is negative 3 degrees Celsius, and the average temperature for the warmest months is or can be below or greater than 10 degrees Celsius. So there are two biomes modified in this climate, which are the tundra and taiga. Under tundra, or can be classified as letter D in Köppen system, has a low-to-ground vegetation consisting small shrubs, lichens, mosses, and such, as we can see in the picture. So, why only small plants grow in this type of climate? It is because the permafrost keeps them from growing their roots, while those plants who manage growing has shallow root system that are not an ideal anchor to withstand high winds. So, yeah. Another reason is the low precipitation, meaning there is not enough water to support the growing trees. So, another biome that can be found is the taiga, or can be the letter E in the Köppen system. So in taiga, there is boreal or snow forest, which consists of coniferous trees like spine, pine, spruce, fir, and such. So although coniferous trees are common in taiga, there is there are broaded leaf trees that can be also found here, like poplars, willows, and some wildflowers. So the soil beneath the taiga often contains permafrost, or the frozen soil, and bedrock. So this permafrost and rock prevents the top layer of the soil from draining, which the soil makes it less or has few nutrients. So it can also freeze. The soil can also freeze, making it difficult for the plants to take root. So where is the subarctic latitude located? The subarctic regions fall between 50 to 70 degrees north depending on local climate. In other words, the subarctic is between the Arctic, the north, and the temperate zones, or the south. As we can see in the picture, the large land mass under subarctic latitudes are Canada, Alaska, some parts of big parts of Russia, and some small parts of China and Mongolia.
Hello everyone, I'm Vanessa and I'm the last reporter for this group. So I'm going to share to you the middle latitude climate. So for the information of everybody, this is just an additional information to our main topic, which is the subarctic climate. So John Lee and Nicole, my co-reporters, already discussed about this and they have already tackled and elaborated to us what is subarctic climate. So these are the climate that has a very cold winters and mild summers. So uh, to further know the effect of having cold weather on the higher latitude in the lower latitude, I'm going to discuss to you the mid latitude climate. So where are the middle latitude climates? A middle latitude climate zone is generally located between the poles of subtropical high pressure systems, approximately 35 north and south, and the beginnings of the polar circulations, approximately 16 north and south, according to the geography. So makita natin very near siya sa subarctic climate, which is located at 50 degrees to 70 degrees, di ba? So, let's take a look on this image. So, let's locate where are the middle latitude climates. So, sa northern hemisphere tayo, since subarctic is located only on the northern hemisphere. So, uh, this is located between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle. So, where is the Tropic Cancer? Dito sa malapit sa equator, Tropic Cancer and the Arctic Circle. So, dito siya sa middle. Diyan yung mga middle latitude climates. So, sa gitna nun, there are 36 countries. Meron yung kasama dun yung East Asia, Central Asia. So, konti lang to I'm going to give you countries like China, Japan, and Korea. So, sila yung mga nakaka-experience ng mga climates sa middle latitude. So, as you can see, it's in between tropics and Arctic. Arctic, middle latitude, and tropics. Ang tropics, they experience the humid, the warm air. Arctic is the coldest one. So, kapag nagmi-meet yung air from Arctic and tropics, nagko-converge yung weather, yung air nilang dalawa. Yun yung na-experience na ng middle latitude climate. So, pag grabe, sabi nga dito, that warm tropical air is passing over the hot continent, which is accompanied by convective precipitation. The winter season is mild, but mid-latitude storms called cyclones can bring snow and rain to the area. Climate zones in the southeastern United States are characterized by hot, humid summers and mild but frosty winters. So kapag mainit sa kanila, sobrang init. Kapag malamig, sobrang lamig naman. Yun yung weather na na-experience ng mid-latitude climate. Yun yung mga nire-receive nila. So, that's all about the middle latitude climates. So we are going to move on to what are the types of weather or the effect of subarctic. Subarctic na tayo na makikita natin ano naman yung epekto niya dun sa agriculture. So vegetation in regions with subarctic climates is generally of low diversity, as only hardy species can survive the long winters and make use of the short summers. Trees are mostly limited to conifers. What are these conifers? As what Nicole have mentioned, the pine trees, like that, the redwood. As few broadleaf trees are able to survive the very low temperatures in winter. This type of forest is also known as taiga, a term which is sometimes applied to the climate found therein as well. Even though the diversity may be low, numbers are high, and the taiga forest is the largest forest biome on the planet, with the most of the forest located in Russia and Canada. The process by which plants become acclimated to cold temperatures is called hardening. So as we have read, that agricultural potential is generally poor due to natural infertility of soils. So, di ba, dyan nga sa subarctic, dyan din nangyayari yung isang araw na gabi lang, isang araw na nakatirgang araw. Kaya paano din nabubuhay ang plants doon. Kaya impossible na magkaroon ng vegetation. Di naman impossible, but super rare na magkaroon ng ganun because of the low diversity. And yun nga, hardy species lang yung nakaka-survive sa sobrang lamig sa subarctic. So, what now? Why is latitude important to climate? So, many factors influence, this is just an additional information again to everybody. The most important factor is latitude because different latitudes receive different amount of solar radiation. The equator receives the most solar radiation. Sunlight filters through a thick wedge of atmosphere, making the sunlight much less intense. So, kapag yung ray ng sun ay nagbe-bend, konti na lang yung nare-receive ng mga nasa subarctic latitude. So, kapag ganun, konti na lang yung solar radiation, malamig na lang. So, that's all. Thank you for listening to us throughout this presentation. And we hope that you learned about subarctic climate and middle latitude climate. That's all, and thank you. God bless.